glad to acknowledge the President of our very much loved Chief of Staff, Honorable Nana Frima Osei Opare.
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to be here again in this august house to perform one of the most pleasant duties on the calendar of the President of the Republic. That is to give honorable members and the Ghanaian people a message on the state of the nation. It will be the fourth of my current mandate. Mr. Speaker, it appears that the way is being prepared for the renewal of my mandate. In accordance with protocol and convention, it is good to see that First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo, Vice President Mahamadou Bawumia, the Second Lady Samira Bawumia, new Chief Justice Enin Yeboah, and Justices of the Supreme Court, Chairperson Nana Uto Sribo II and members of the Council of State, Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General O.B. Akwa, the new Inspector General of Police, Mr. James Opombuenu, and service chiefs are all present. Speaker, the House is also duly honored by the welcome attendance of the former Presidents of the Republic, Their Excellencies Jerry John Rawlings and John Ajikon Kufuor, and former First Lady Her Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo Ajima Rawlings, and the Dean and members of the Diplomatic Corps. Speaker, the House is aware that since my last appearance, we have a new Chief Justice in the person of Justice Enin Yeboah, who is succeeding Justice Sophia Abarabofu Akufo. His appointment has been met with broad acceptance within the legal profession and the general population, testimony to his reputation for integrity and excellence in the conduct of his judicial duties. I wish him Godspeed in the discharge of the functions of his great office, and wish Justice Sophia Akufo a well-deserved retirement after 24 years in high judicial office. But knowing her, I'm sure we shall hear of her again in public service of some sort. The House is equally aware that we have a new Inspector General of Police, Mr. James Opombuenu, an experienced police officer of 31 years of service, who commands the respect of his fellow officers and the men and women of the police force and the public at large. I'm confident that, as he's already demonstrating, he will be in the front line of an impartial, politically colorblind administration and enforcement of the laws of the country, especially in this sensitive election year. I wish him a successful tenure of office and wish his predecessor, Mr. David Asante Apietu, well in his retirement. Mr. Speaker, some events in life leave an afterglow. Members will have to excuse me, I have a bad cold. Long after they have ended, I believe we can confidently say that the designation of 2019 as a year of return and the events that emanated from that decision have certainly left an afterglow that Ghana can and must cherish. Ghana became the center of attention in the African diaspora, and indeed much of the world, as we led the way with events of remembrance to commemorate 400 years since the first captured African slaves arrived in the Americas in what became the beginning of the ignominious transatlantic slave trade. The event being commemorated left deep scars and remains a source of unimaginable grief for all peoples of African descent. but it provided a great opportunity for us to demonstrate our triumph over adversity. Throughout the year, and culminating in the glorious cacophony of celebrations, Ghana was the center of attention in much of the world. We played host to people from all over the world, young and old, men and women, black and white, joined in spectacular celebration, a joyous rediscovery of our common identity and humanity, exploring what we can do together through political, cultural, and economic engagement to make our future brighter and better, one our future descendants will be proud of. Speaker, it is a matter of great pride to me that all Ghanaians embrace the year of return and help to project such a positive and endearing image of our country. My heartfelt thanks to all Ghanaians and to members of the House in particular for the enthusiastic welcome that was extended to our visitors and for making the year of return such a resounding success. But we are not yet done. We're building on the foundations of the year of return to a new level, the next stage of our re-engagement with the African diaspora with the theme, Beyond the Return. The government is seeking to build on the success, and we're putting measures in place to take us beyond the return. The Ministry of Tourism, under its eloquent leader, the Honorable Barbara Oting-Jesse, Member of Parliament for Prestia Huni Valley, and the rejuvenated Ghana Tourism Authority, under its dynamic Chief Executive Akufo-Addo, are heading the charge to make our country an attractive and irresistible destination, a place of pilgrimage, a nation that everyone with a hint of African blood must visit at least once in their lifetime. I should thank two people in particular who have embraced their Ghanaian heritage and have played a key role in our effort to build lasting bridges between Ghana and African Americans. Hollywood star Boris Kujo and international marketing icon Bozoma St. John. We're grateful to both of them for leveraging their star power to attract thousands to the land of their fathers and to drive a fresh narrative that says Ghana is a land of opportunity. Visit, invest, make it your home. We appreciate deeply their contribution and that of many others to the success of the entire project. Speaker, I can testify to the renewed enthusiasm around the world for our country. My trips to Germany, France, Austria, Japan, Russia, the Caribbean this past year have brought tangible dividends, and there are growing investments in Ghana from companies in those countries. The emphasis in our foreign relations remains with our immediate neighborhood, and that means ECOWAS and the African Union. And Ghana continues to play a leading role in making these organizations active and relevant to the changing needs of our region and continent. I cannot ignore the difficulties that currently exist in ECOWAS, especially with Nigeria, our age-old friend and largest member nation, closing its land borders for the past 5 months, and the instability and terrorist activity that is sadly blighting the lives of thousands in some parts of Nigeria and shedding innocent blood in the Sahel and in our neighbors to the north of our country. We're playing a positive role in the efforts being made within ECOWAS to bring this boundary impasse to an end, which will hopefully be sooner than later. The successful implementation of the Accra Initiative, involving the consistent collaboration and cooperation of intelligence and security heads from Ghana and her neighboring countries, namely Côte d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Togo, Benin, Mali, and Nigeria, continues to be our concrete contribution to the fight against terrorism in our region. through joint security operations, such as Kwandungu and the ongoing Operation Conquered Fist. We continue to reinforce the security of our northwestern, northern, and northeastern borders to guard against any infiltrations into the country. All of us have a vested interest in helping to maintain the peace, stability, and security of Ghana in the current troubling circumstances of our region. Mr. Speaker, we never lose sight of the fact that there are many Ghanaian communities in all parts of the world, and our missions abroad have been charged anew to be alive to their needs. I'm happy to report that Ghanaians in the diaspora are very much involved in whatever happens in their home country. Wherever I go, I meet with them, and they are often very well informed and insistent on accountability from government officials. Let us never forget that the remittances from Ghanaians abroad constitute a healthy part of our economy, and I always encourage them to bring their acquired skills to invigorate the political and economic landscape. Mr. Speaker, it is important that I make special mention of Ghana's relationship with the People's Republic of China, which has grown exponentially over the past few years. The dramatic economic transformation of China in the past 2 decades is a marvel to the world and a lesson for the rest of us in the developing world. We've entered into various agreements with China, the lead one obviously being the Sino-Hydro Agreement, which seeks to deliver many infrastructural projects. Mr. Speaker, today, China is unfortunately battling an outbreak of the deadly COVID-19 virus. We sympathize with the people of China at this time of great trouble. I have written to President Xi Jinping to convey to the government and the people of China the solidarity and sympathy of the compassionate people of Ghana. We trust that with the tough decisions being implemented to curb the spread of the virus, this nightmare will be over, and soon they will recover from its devastating social and economic impact. There is a sizable Ghanaian community in China, and our government through our embassy has been working with the Chinese authorities to find the best way to deal with this situation. The Ghanaian community includes 4,760 students, out of which 300 students are studying in Hubei province and 200 in the city of Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak. We have a delicate situation on our hands, Mr. Speaker, and it does not benefit anybody to try to score points by introducing ill-judged politics into this ongoing medical conundrum and humanitarian tragedy. Most of these students are on Chinese government scholarships, and since the crisis started, the Chinese government has done its best to keep them supplied with food and other logistics. The Ghana government, through its mission, also supplies logistics, and the embassy has given, so far, 500 United States dollars to each student. However, we know that no amount of logistics will make up for the extreme stress and trauma that these young people are going through, and I treat members of this honorable House to set an example by helping to pour oil over troubled waters instead of instigating tension and spreading fear and panic among the young people. The government is in constant touch with experts on the subject, who advise that the basic principle of public health is to confine the disease to the area of its origin. But we have not ruled out the option of evacuating the students from Wuhan if that becomes necessary. We have put in place measures to ensure that their evacuation back into Ghana, if it happens, does not lead to the dissemination of fear and panic amongst the general population. Mr. Speaker, I've spent time talking about how well we're doing on the international scene and the many plaudits that are showered on Ghana wherever I go. But the test of how well our country is doing and can and should be measured by how Ghanaians themselves feel about their situation. 10 days ago, our Vice President and Chairman of the Economic Management Team, Alhaji Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia, all the other services as well. I must make mention of the fire service and the prison service, where the numbers have been increased with fresh recruitment. There are positive things happening in the prison service, with opportunities being made available for inmates to acquire skills. I note in particular with a lot of satisfaction that this past year, 376 prison inmates passed various exams in the National Vocational and Technical Institutes, junior high schools, and senior high schools. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Armed Forces continue to perform creditably in discharging their duty of defending the territorial integrity of the country. The government has retooled and equipped them to keep them in the desired state of readiness. When the government amended LI 1332, which extended the run-out date from 25 years to 30 years for the other ranks, it led to the creation of new ranks within the structures of the armed forces and to a subsequent rationalization of wages and salaries for all ranks within the armed forces. Government is tackling the long-standing housing problem that has faced our armed forces. Over 500 million cedis is being invested in housing projects of varying sizes for the men and women of the armed forces and in refurbishing the military academy and training schools in Teshi. Our soldiers have been active along the northern borders to protect our country and its people since the eruption of terrorist activities in Burkina Faso. They have also been working with the police since July 2017 in Operation Vanguard, which was set up to deal with the activities of illegal miners. Mr. Speaker, the mention of Operation Vanguard would seem to be at the appropriate time to deal with the subject of galamsey, the popular name that has been coined for illegal mining. When we came into office in January 2017, galamsey activities were rampant in many parts of our country. Our lands, forests, and river bodies were being systematically degraded and polluted without any care. And this had been the case for several years. And indeed, the previous NDC government had given up the fight against galamsey. We determined that this was an intolerable situation, and we owed it to generations yet unborn to tackle the problem and save our environment. I was very much aware that the lure of gold, once it takes hold, drives away all rationality. That is not a Ghanaian characteristic. It is a human characteristic that has been displayed all over the world throughout the ages. I was therefore not under any illusions about the size and scope of the problem we're taking on. But I was cheered by the support from a large part of the population that has also recognized the danger posed by the degradation of our lands and water bodies and the needless deaths of young people who are being buried alive in makeshift mining pits. I welcomed in particular the media coalition which was formed in July 2017 that lent its support to the fight against galamsey. As I have said on countless occasions, the battle we launched was not against mining. It would be unrealistic for anyone to suggest there should be no mining in Ghana. The Almighty, having blessed us with all these precious minerals, must surely be in agreement that we'd find ways to use them to develop our country and for the benefit of our communities. However, taking the minerals out should not lead to the destruction of our water bodies and forests or endanger the sustainable existence of our country. What is more, it was obvious to all that the small-scale mining that had always taken place in our communities had been transformed into something unrecognizable in our history by the introduction of the monster machinery that dug up riverbeds and turned serene streams into ugly, toxic, muddy, frothy ponds. It was no longer small-scale mining, and it was certainly no longer local community mining when we saw the influx of foreigners into the most rural, isolated, and densest of forests. It was no longer local community mining when rivers, hitherto considered as sacred, were being abused and polluted. We started with the banning of all small-scale mining, and after about a year of the campaign, we made some progress as some rivers showed signs of coming back to life. The University of Mines and Technology at Takwa took on the role of training local people in sustainable mining. And by the time the ban on small-scale mining was lifted last year, almost 4,000 had received the training. The Honorable House also did its part by amending the Mining Act to raise the penalties for illegal nationals from participating in any way in small-scale mining. The nation is grateful for the intervention of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, the threat posed to the future of our country by Galamsey is grave, and we cannot shirk our responsibilities in dealing with it. I'm appealing to the media coalition not to be daunted by the difficulties in the fight against Galamsey. Government will not weaken its stance and welcomes the continuous support of the media coalition. The Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining has been working hard and has had some successes. Under the auspices of this committee, the Ministry of Local Government has formulated and is implementing the Alternative Livelihood Program in 35 severely affected Galamsey districts across the country. Last year, 500 youth, mainly engaged in illegal mining, were trained and graduated in vocational and technical skills from community development, vocational and technical institutions. They've been provided with startup tools and equipment. An additional 607 youth are currently undergoing similar training, 240 of whom are in the community development institutions, while 367 are attached to master craftsmen through apprenticeship at the community level. Operation Vanguard has been largely successful, even though problems still remain. Mining with impunity on water bodies and in forest reserves has declined. More than 4,000 miners have received training in sustainable mining. The number of individuals dying in collapsed mining tunnels and pits in the few unauthorized locations left has reduced by more than 90%. Operation Vanguard has been particularly effective in helping to restore the order which has permitted the reopening of the famous Obuasi mine of Anglo-Gold Ashanti. The community mining program, Mr. Speaker, the community mining program has been well received by the population. And young men and women who did not have the resources to acquire concessions and excavators and other mining inputs, and therefore had to do Galamsey, have moved into legal community mining. Now, more than 20,000 individuals are earning their incomes legitimately in the community mines in Akufo-Addo, Echuma Nwabeja, Echuma Mpunya, Adansi North, Amansi Central, Wasa East, and Wasa East districts. Since the introduction of the community mining program, there have been no deaths due to the collapse of tunnels and pits. The Interministerial Committee, along with Operation Vanguard, were determined to disrupt Galamsey activities by confiscating equipment that were employed in these activities. In this regard, 12,000 Shangfine machines that go on the river and scoop up the riverbed were seized and destroyed on site. Some excavators were also seized, and a number of them have gone missing. The police have arrested and charged some of the alleged culprits, and investigations are ongoing. No one involved will be shielded, no matter what their positions or political colors are. Mr. Speaker, we've made significant strides over the last 3 years in our fight against corruption, despite of the skepticism of people with questionable records. Under the legal framework to fight corruption, with the help of this House, by passing into law the Witness Protection Act, 2018, Act 959, the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act, 2018, Act 959, the Right to Information Act, 2019, Act 989, and the Companies Act, 2019, Act 992, which provides a framework for enacting a beneficial ownership register. The government has increased budgetary allocations to all the accountability institutions of state, including the Parliament of Ghana, the Judiciary, SHRAJ, EYOCO, the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, the Auditor General, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and the Ghana Police Service, with annual increases between 25% and 34% between 2017 and 2019. We have also implemented a change from the opaque allocation of Ghana's oil blocks to a more transparent allocation process, and advisedly so. The opaque period, 2013 to 2016, saw, according to the Ministry of Energy, the signature of 13 petroleum agreements, from which 14 wells were to be drilled. Not a single well was drilled. In contrast, in my time, over the last 3 years, there have been 6 drilling campaigns on 3 different blocks, with others on the way. We will drill more and find more oil. Some 40 or more high-profile personalities are currently before the courts on various corruption charges, and most are in the pipeline. I would like to repeat that if evidence of corruption is presented, no one will be spared, regardless of position or political affiliation. No one is above the law. That is the true meaning of equality before the law. Mr. Speaker, as part of our strategy to modernize the economy, deliver government services efficiently, and curb corruption, Ghana has, over the last 3 years, embarked on a major program of digitization of the economy with significant success. At the end of last week, 9.2 million people have been registered on the national ID card, the Ghana card. Before the end of this year, Ghana will have a fully working national ID system, which will be a game changer for our nation. Mr. Speaker, we're also providing infrastructure to many Zongo communities across the country through the Zongo Development Fund. Mr. Speaker, we're seeing improvement in the quality of our nation's sanitation, even though we still have a lot more. According to the Northern Regional Environmental Health Unit, in the 3 northern regions, that is Savannah, Northeast, and Northern, the number of open defecation-free communities has increased. ODF has increased from 5% as of June 2016 to some 58% as of July 2019. The latest data from the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources shows that ODF communities in Ghana as a whole have increased from 410 in 2016 to over 5,000 communities. Now that is progress. And it did not just happen. It took hard work, commitment, and the provision of infrastructure. In fulfillment of our manifesto commitment of toilets for all, we have built 13,800 toilets, which is largely responsible for this development. Mr. Speaker, we have not stopped building toilets. We will build more. Mr. Speaker, another good example of deliberate, well-thought-out policy, executed through hard work and commitment, that is generating dividends, is what we've done about food and agriculture in the past 3 years. It bears repeating that agriculture was very much in the doldrums when we came into office, with a growth rate of 2.9%. We introduced the program for planting for food and jobs and set about to make agriculture an attractive profession. We invested resources, expertise, and time, and the results have been impressive and rewarding. The growth rate in 2016 was 6.1%, and this increased to 6.4% last year. Increased production and high yields from foodstuffs like maize, rice, sorghum, groundnuts, soybean, cowpea, cassava, and plantain have led to a decrease in the wholesale prices in market centers in major food-producing areas. Furthermore, we're no longer importers of maize. We're reducing our dependence on rice imports and are now, in effect, net exporters of foodstuffs. Food prices are their lowest in decades. Mr. Speaker, I must provide some examples of what I mean by things not just happening by happenstance, but by deliberate and meticulous planning and competent execution. We recruited some 2,700 agricultural extension agents to give practical expertise on the farms. We're not yet at the United Nations recommended ratio of 1 extension officer to 500 farmers, but we're working to get there, and it is definitely a vast improvement on the decimated department we met on the assumption of office. With the support of Canada, 300 vehicles and 3,000 motor bicycles have been deployed around the country for ease of movement for those tasked to help the farmers. Once the foodstuffs are produced, we don't leave it to chance and risk not being able to sell and thereby discourage the farmers. The National Food and Buffer Stock Company, NAFCO, has been revitalized to enhance agricultural marketing and improve access to market. NAFCO is promoting institutional procurement of produce and sales to schools and hospitals. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to inform you that the Commodities Exchange in Ghana, which is fully operational, is promoting high productivity, price stability, increased exports, and reduced imports of commodities. Trading operations through an electronic trading platform commenced in November 2018. To increase storage capacity, 80 warehouses, each of a size of 1,000 metric tons, are being built around the country. 35 have been completed by the Ministry of Special Development Initiatives and 13 by the Ministry of Agriculture. The Ministry of Agriculture will complete the remaining 17 soon, and the Special Development Initiative Ministry will complete another 10 by June. In other words, Mr. Speaker, every part of the value chain is planned and accounted for. The diversification of the scheme ensures that there will be something to interest a wide variety of people. That is, it is not only foodstuffs that are on offer. The planting for export and rural development PERD, the following tree crops: cashew, coffee, coconut, oil palm, mango, rubber, and shea. Parliament has contributed to the process of agricultural transformation by the establishment of the Tree Crop Development Authority, which is going to be responsible for husbanding the industries of these tree crops into full maturity and expand by 7-fold our earnings from agriculture. The Rearing for Food and Jobs RFJ program is developing a competitive and more efficient livestock industry that will increase domestic meat production and reduce importation of livestock. 265 small earth dams have also been completed under the One Village, One Dam initiative. More will be done this year. At the heart of all these efforts is the determination to make agriculture an attractive business to young, educated Ghanaians. And that is why modernization, mechanization, and the use of technology are all part of the scheme. Digital and internet maps of soil fertility status in the northern Savannah ecological zone are being made available to facilitate informed decision-making on fertilizer formulation and application. If any more proof were needed that under this government, agriculture is a high-tech undertaking, Mr. Speaker, an electronic platform has been established to capture and monitor the activities of participating farmers. As of December 2019, 500,000 farmers have been biometrically registered. Mr. Speaker, it gives me great joy to be able to tell this House that modernization is finally coming to the fishing industry as well. New ways of doing things are being accepted, and our fisher folk are now ready to take a leap into scientific and sustainable methods of fishing. For 2 consecutive years now, our fisher folk have accepted a closed season and allowed fishers to spawn without disturbance in our waters. Constructions of the 10 long-promised, much-publicized landing sites in Senya-Breku, Elmina, Mori, Mumford, Winneba, Gumwa-Fete, Disco, Axim, Teshi, and Kita have finally started. Axim, Disco, Senya-Breku, and Gumwa-Fete will be completed by the end of this year, with the remainder being completed early next year. Construction of the Jamestown Harbor will commence in March, following the completion of technical work. Mr. Speaker, I'm looking forward to the business resource centers being built, helping the country to unearth some exciting young entrepreneurs. 37 of them have been. These centers are one-stop enterprise support centers that provide full range of business development services, investment facilitation and information services to entrepreneurs and business enterprises at the district level. On Monday, I was very pleased to be at Kijibi in the Oti region to commission one of the 37 BRCs that have been completed around the country. In November last year, I commissioned another one at the Fidrasi Asokore in the Ashanti region. The BRCs are all being equipped with modern IT infrastructure and networked through a virtual private network to facilitate efficient delivery of their operations. We have built 37. We're building 30 more. The young people that I met during the presidential pitch program, for example, give me a lot of hope and assure me as having the potential to benefit from the BRCs, the National Entrepreneurship and Innovations Plan, NEIP, and take on the world. Mr. Speaker, the government is aggressively pursuing its plans for industrial transformation. Whilst the Business Development Ministry works on bringing out entrepreneurial skills and encouraging young people to spot business opportunities, we're paying greater attention to making Ghana an easy place to do business and set up industries. Having won the bid to host the headquarters of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, in Accra, the government has provided a permanent office building to host the Secretariat. And with the appointment of the Secretary General in Addis Ababa 2 weeks ago at the recent AU Summit, the office will become operational by the end of next month. We extend our warm congratulations to the first Secretary General, Mr. Wamkele Meni, the young South African, and assure him that we'll give him our fullest cooperation to ensure he succeeds. Speaker, we launched the Ghana Automotive Development Policy in August last year, and it has so far attracted investment and commercial interest from some very big players, including Toyota, Volkswagen, Nissan, Renault, Hyundai, Sinotruk, and Suzuki. VW is building its plant in the North Industrial Area in Accra and is due to start production by the end of April. Sinotruk has begun assembling its trucks. Toyota is scheduled to start the assembly of vehicles in Tema in the last quarter of this year. We have high hopes for this new industry, which has come to join our own Kantanka. Speaker, we are determined at long last to exploit our large bauxite, manganese, and iron ore deposits, which will enable us to establish an integrated bauxite and aluminum industry and an iron and steel industry. The Ghana Integrated Bauxite and Aluminum Development Corporation and the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Corporation have been established by law as the vehicles for this exploitation. The processes are underway for the selection this year of joint venture partners for the development of the full value chain of these two multi-billion-dollar industries, which will give a tremendous boost to Ghanaian industrialization. Mr. Speaker, all our best-laid plans for industrialization will come to naught unless we have a reliable and reasonably priced energy source. It probably says something about the progress we have made, that in discussing the state of our nation, it takes a while even to get into our power supply matters. It gives me great pleasure to be able to say that we have overcome the Dumsor menace. But unfortunately, I cannot say that we have resolved all our energy problems. It is still work in progress. Further, the 5 years of energy crisis led to the signing of what can only be described as usurious contracts that have landed our country with a huge financial burden. The take-or-pay contracts resulted in the country being saddled with expensive excess power and are having to pay nearly $1 billion United States dollars in 2018 and 2019 for power we did not need. We're working to find a way out to ensure reliable power supply at a cost that makes us competitive in the region. In the meantime, the industrialization flagship project, One District, One Factory, is progressing and beginning to show dividends. A total of 181 projects spread across 112 districts are currently at various stages of implementation under the program. 58 companies already in operation, 26 projects currently under construction, 58 AFDB small-scale projects ready for sword cutting in the early part of this year, and 26 pipeline projects are ready to commence implementation by the first quarter of this year. Exim Bank last month signed a $100 million United States dollar facility with Credit Suisse to help complete this year 20 of the export-related factories. It is envisaged that the ID1D1F initiative will generate a total of 228,886 direct and indirect jobs. Even though the latest Ghana Living Standards Survey has recorded a drop in unemployment from 11.9% in 2015 to 7.3% in 2019, we still need to do more to create more jobs with urgency. Struggling existing businesses are also being revived and expanded under the 1D1F scheme. There's nothing contrary to the philosophy that underpins 1D1F if an already existing enterprise is helped to expand and employ more people. So, Speaker, all our plans, all our hopes, all our expectations for a brighter tomorrow will only come to fruition if we can guarantee an educated and skilled workforce. A look at the national budget gives a clear indication of where our priority lies, and it is with education. The pre-tertiary education bill, currently before Parliament, defines the priorities. Basic education is being redefined to include senior high school, and this covers vocational, agricultural, and technical schools. The emphasis is aggressively to promote science, technology, and engineering and mathematics, STEM education, across all levels of the education system. I'm aware that some of the teacher unions have concerns over the proposed legislation. I would like to add my voice to that of Parliament in encouraging the unions to deepen their engagement with the Ministry of Education in order to find a consensus that will enable the bill to go forward in peace. Mr. Speaker, it was a manifesto commitment to leverage technology to popularize the teaching and learning of mathematics. It was with an eye to the future that we decided to demystify mathematics and make Ghana a mathematics-friendly country. We need more engineering and technically minded people to be able to transform the economy. I'm glad to report that Ghana's teachers are supportive of the many changes that are being introduced to make these hopes a reality. Yes, the first cohort of free senior high school students are now getting ready to take their West African Senior Secondary Certificate examination waxing, and we look forward to them doing well. Despite the continuing hostility of a few about the merits of the free senior high school policy, I'm glad to note that it is being widely accepted by the overwhelming majority. Yes, we still have some difficulties with infrastructure deficits, which are being vigorously addressed with the construction of 962 facilities, dormitories, dining halls, assembly halls, and classroom blocks, together with the provision of desks and beds. But the argument about the importance of ensuring that all Ghana's children get a secondary education is irresistible. In the best of worlds, the conversation should move on to the fastest way to provide laboratories and workshops to make all of Ghana's children ICT competent. The conversation should move on to how quickly we can transform our children into technically minded and mathematics-loving students. But the government is trying to move the conversation to technical, vocational, and educational training TVET, becoming the instinctive choice for children at school. We're moving the conversation to ensuring that even when an institution is designated as a technical institution, it delivers technical courses. And just in case I need to remind anyone, TVET has always been part of free SHS. If you prefer, call it free TVET. I'm well aware that we need a happy and contented group of teachers to ensure that the teaching and learning environment is happy and safe for our children. We have restored the teacher trainee allowances, employed 67,000 teachers, paid Tier 2 pension funds of teachers, cleared the 3-year backlog of non-promotion of teachers, abandoned the 3-month pay policy we inherited for newly recruited teachers, and cleared 92% of the legacy arrears. We have resourced the research and book allowances that were cancelled. And we have agreed to grant teachers a professional allowance. The new promotion policy for teachers, announced some 2 weeks ago, has been well received by teachers. The government is determined to restore dignity to the teaching profession. We want the chieftains to accept that they hold our destinies in their hands. I'm happy to note, Mr. Speaker, the sporting activities are finding their way back into the regular school curriculum. I'm told the inter-school sporting activities are once again attaining the keen competitive edge that those of us of a certain age remember. Mr. Speaker, 10 youth and sports centers of excellence are being constructed across 10 regions of the country at Wa, Doma, Dunkwa, Onofin, Ho, Koforidua, Ninehi, Yendi, Navrongo, Axim, and Kanisi. To harness and develop the entrepreneurial abilities and sporting talents of the youth. All 10 will be completed this year, and the 6 newly created regions will also be provided with the same facilities from this year. Each center will have a counseling center for entrepreneurship development, a conference center, an ICT center, a restaurant, hostel facility and offices, a FIFA standard football pitch, an 8-lane athletic track, tennis courts, multi-purpose courts for basketball, handball, tennis, volleyball, and other sporting disciplines, and a gymnasium. We're making sure there'll be room for